by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate, 915-588-1850. And by Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, making the old Griggs recipes in a new location at 6761 Donovan Drive. By M1 EP Management Corporation. By Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. And now, El Paso History with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk, and of course, today is May 7th, 2022, and we are marking the centennial celebrations for the oldest continuously operating hotel in El Paso, the Gardner Hotel, including the many changes over the years of its operations and hospitality in general, many famous and infamous guests who have stayed there, and the family, of course, that runs it to this day. You can, of course, find us live on air, online, live streaming on ktsmradio.com with full video on the El Paso History Radio Show Facebook page and the YouTube channel, as well as the Facebook page, Remember in El Paso When, which will be up here on shortly this morning. But, of course, this is the place where we say Texas history begins in El Paso. We do have a history moment today at the top of hour 2 from documentary filmmaker Jackson Polk. He talks about the U.S.-Mexico War in the 1840s and the events stemming from it here in the borderland. So our guests today are Joe Nebhan and Stephanie Nebhan, owner and manager, respectively, of the Gardner Hotel. Thank you all very much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely happy to have you all here because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to history of our region, but it's often fun to and an honor to get to celebrate certain instances like this when we're talking about the 100th anniversary of something, because there's not a whole lot that necessarily makes it that far, and the sense of place that you get from being in a location that has seen so much history from it's often overlooked, but it's indispensable in the long run here. So for people who may not be familiar with the Gardner Hotel, tell us a little bit about how you think about the current history of the location.
The history of the location is absolutely spectacular. I started going to the hotel as an 8-year-old
Really?
child, following my dad, and fell in love with it immediately. And that was in 1962.
Wow.
And I retired in 2016. And my daughter took over and doing a spectacular job.
Just make sure you get really close to that microphone there and we'll be able to hear you. That should work a little bit better. All right. So, going there since you were a child. And of course, your family has been very long involved then with the operation of that hotel here. But of course, the history of its own spans even further back than that. So it's actually this month that we're marking the actual 100th anniversary of the opening of the hotel, right?
That's correct. In fact, it's this coming Wednesday, which is May 11th.
Mm-hmm. And then you all have some further celebrations on planned around this, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Excellent here. So that's just a little bit of the part of it here. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can talk about the movement of the history through this. Of course, here you've got the building itself. You've got the operation of the businesses that have inhabited it. I mean, the hotel and all the things in the sharing the same space with it. And of course, there's family history. Let's start with the history of the building itself here, because how it even originated is its own interesting story, because what you see wasn't necessarily what you were going to get right from the start of the construction of the building itself, right?
That's correct. It was started by Preston E. Gardner. A little brief history about him. He was oilman and lawyer. He was originally from Missouri, and he moved to El Paso in the late teens and purchased property and built a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I heard that Sam Elliott's grandparents lived
Really?
on the Staten Side Street. So I don't know if there's any documentation beyond that, but that's something that I've heard. But Preston Gardner was a character in himself. He ran for mayor of the city of El Paso. He ran against a gentleman by the name of Mr. Dudley, and people as older as I am, you would remember Dudley Field, who is named after,
or the Dudley Dome, as it also became to be known.
Exactly. Is the only thing of that. The reason why they called it that is because Gardner lost. Now, one of the big reasons why he lost, it was a time in the early 20s when the Ku Klux Klan was very active.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they controlled the school board here in El Paso.
Right.
And that is why they have all the schools named after Texas heroes. I mean, Austin, Crockett, Bowie, things like that. That is the reason why they have names like that.
I mean, it makes a certain kind. I mean, I never questioned it growing up here, but I guess if you take a larger view out of it in that kind of situation, it's kind of okay, why are there all these non-local heroes, but Texas in general, but non exactly like local area people that are named all these schools after? And so, I mean, I guess in that way, it makes a certain level of sense, even if I guess I don't really get their reasoning for doing that.
I don't understand any of the reasoning of the Klan.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good way to put it as well.
But anyway, the hotel was designed to be a 5-story building, 100
Right.
rooms. And they had estimated the cost to be $85,000 in 1922. And by the time they got up to the third floor, the cost had run up to $135,000.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Gardner said, top it off, we're opening up. And they did so on May 11th, 1922.
wow. So again, we're in the 2022 as we are now. So it's amazing that you still got the exact documentation of that date and the idea that. So we popped up the picture of the building over here a second ago, and this is the view as we're seeing it from the side. I want to say that's Stanton and Oregon, the side we're looking at here, and of course. I mean, it's a handsome building on its own. Of course, you got all the decorations and the finials and such on the top here. It's interesting to imagine that going up for another couple of floors. Then was the original plan.
That's correct. That's correct. Of course, the ground floor was originally meant to be lease space. Okay, for different stores, and there's been some changes when I did the renovation in 2012. I saw signs how the storefronts were actually a little bit smaller, and they tore down walls to join two
Oh, really?
two storefronts together.
So yeah, people can see there around the base of it here. The entrance, essentially from the way we're looking at it right now, is going to be essentially kind of to the right-hand side of that picture, because yours is further along on the side of there. I mean, we've got also the handsome entrance picture of it right here with that kind of cars that you all sometimes have hanging around the front of it, right?
Well, I still own the car.
Okay.
But it's in storage. We haven't run it for about 10 years.
Okay.
But I still do have it. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing with it, but that's yet to be seen in the future.
Might I say that you broke this out for the last time you had a celebration
That's
of
right.
the history?
We had it in 10 years ago.
Yeah. So
10
for the
years ago.
90th anniversary.
90th anniversary.
So that makes sense here. And so, I mean, that kind of again, the way you're talking about that. So is that actually, what is that model of vehicle we're looking at there?
That's a 1930 Model A Ford sedan. It was the top of the line. And you could always tell the top of the line sedan for a couple of reasons. It has the fifth window, number one. I don't think it's visible there. And the other luxury that it had 2 brake lights. The regular Model A's only had 1.
Okay. And so again, the kind of history there, and that you talk a lot about, and have a lot of pictures up around here. We're just going to put up a couple more of the lobby area of the hotel here right now, because as people walk in, I love the front desk view that you also have, and then some of the like a phone booth that you have from 1930s era, right?
No, that's earlier. It's
19.
That's an original piece. That was originally in the Gardner. And a few months ago, I was able to locate a 1920s vintage telephone.
Wow.
We haven't connected it. I don't want people using it.
Yeah, I can see there being some problems there.
Yeah, there would be problems, and we don't need it. So, since it's the oldest phone booth in the city.
Wow. So that's a note on its own right. I didn't realize that was original, because that's impressive in its own right here. So again, if you want to see any of the pictures we're talking about, we have them over up on our Facebook page and part of the live stream there on facebook.com/El Paso History Radio Show. But so getting back to the history of the hotel. So this was built and intended to be a hotel right from the start, because there's a lot of, particularly lately, there's been some hotels that have been returning to use, and a lot of talk of adaptive reuse happening with downtown. But this one has been, since the beginning, a hotel and then the various businesses on the ground floor. People may be familiar with those and various ones who have come through over the years, right?
That's correct. Our customer base is, has changed over the years,
Mhm.
and but it's always operated as a hotel.
So, and again, some of those changes that have happened there, and so you mentioned a little bit of the history of, well, the differences in how it operated or expected to be, even just with the changes in the construction and them deciding to go off with it. So the question that comes to mind here, because that's not the only building that I'm aware of that, well, has existed in downtown El Paso that was, well, the design changed as construction went along. There was, I want to say, the Muir Building was another one. Of course, that one now no longer standing, but that was another example of that was actually intended to be a multi-story more than the few stories that it was at the time. So was that common at the time, as far as you can tell?
Well, depending on the finances, this is the finances, are the ruling, rules everything. If the money's not there, they have to top it off and start bringing in some cash.
So as far as as far as you've been able to tell through any of the records you found, did the start of the Great Depression have anything to do with it? Because, I mean, the finances certainly would have taken a turn by about that point here. Starting in the 20s, that early 20s, it was doing well before that point. So
Yes.
did it seem like there was any initial impacts, or he just ran out of money personally?
He ran out of money personally, especially it was not long after he lost the election that he left out. He got divorced. His wife divorced him.
Okay.
And he moved to California. This is where he's buried, in California. And other than that, I don't know much about him, other than I knew that he became a Baptist minister. And for a while, he worked with Emmanuel Baptist.
Huh. Okay. Again, these humans that we deal with in the history often have interesting and colorful histories of their own here. So quite the bit of any other points you really want to make about Gardner himself?
No, because his history is quite vague. And a lot of the history I find to be repetitive, and there's just a single point on it, and that's enough we need. I've tried, and it's very difficult.
So it kind of sounds like, had he been active much in town before this point of building the hotel?
Yeah, well, he built the hotel. He financed the building of the hotel, but he didn't. He wasn't the architect. He was. I know the builder was, I believe, Morgan.
Okay.
So I think some of his progeny is Miss Morgan that used to be on city council.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that is a name I recognize in that context. Absolutely.
Right.
Okay. So it kind of sounds like he kind of showed up on the scene, made a splash, and then quickly left town in short order, pretty much.
Yes. And of course, as you said earlier, the Depression did not help things.
No, I'm sure that made things.
It was a big impact. The hotel obviously survived the Depression, which we're lucky about. But that was the time in the 20s that there was this huge boom of building in downtown El Paso. The reason why is because of that silly constitutional amendment that banned the sale of alcohol.
Prohibition, as it's known.
Prohibition, exactly. And El Paso was growing rapidly because people were coming here to go across the border and have a drink.
There's a lot of talk about the rum runners and the bootleggers, but in this situation, it's interesting how history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, because my generation didn't totally do that because of other issues going on south of the border, but it was long a tradition of going over to Juarez, or the zoo as it was called at certain points, and taking advantage of just, let's say, differences in laws, even into more of the modern era here. So
well, I did one of the shows about the bars of El Paso, and I think that's my first show. Bars was a big place when I was in high school to go to.
Yep, and so that has continued in a lot of ways here. But tell you what, we got a lot of people chiming in with us over here on the social media. We got Melissa Sargent over on the YouTube page, Rick Nahara, good morning from the Remember in El Paso Facebook page, Larry Kendrick from Las Cruces, Marjorie Revelis Benton from Northeast, Monica Cervantes from Las Cruces, Angie Salazar from Pueblo, West Colorado, and Anthony, New Mexico, Victor Luciano Guzman, Flaco Jimenez, and a whole lot more. tuning in and chiming, and also West Valley City, Utah, Maria and Barragan. But we got to take that next break right now. So coming out of the break, we'll talk more about, continue the history here of the Gardner itself, because of course, the construction was literally just the beginning here in the early operation. So tracking the changes of it through the years. And again, how the hospitality has evolved to this day is an interesting one here. So again, joined here in studio by Joe and Stephanie Nebhan, the current, owner and manager of the building here, as it says, stayed in the Yalls family for years now. But we'll talk more about that after this break with more on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com, m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549.
Home title theft. That's the identity fraud you really need to worry about. Why? Because home title theft is on the rise. It's devastating, and you can even get evicted from your home. Look, credit card and bank identity thefts are a nuisance. But if a thief gets your credit card, the card company handles it. And the same with your bank account. Your bank covers it. But when a cyber thief forges his name onto your home's title, he can take over your home and even have you evicted. That's why you should protect the legal title to your home with Home Title Lock, America's leader in home title protection. The instant they detect a foreign or domestic cyber thief tampering with your home's title, they mobilize their U.S.-based experts to help shut it down. Protect your most valuable asset. Go to HomeTitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim. And use promo code RADIO for 30 free days of protection. Again, that's home.
Yeah. Good morning. Can you hear me?
More to improve overall health and wellness, modern medicine, or personal hygiene. Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, Bed Bath, and Walmart. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
And now, let's turn back the pages of time and return to the El Paso History Radio Show. Brought to you by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate. 915-588-1850. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant, 6761 Donovan Drive. By M1 EP Management Corporation, 915-592-4549. By Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. Here again, El Paso History with Andrew J. Polk.
We are, of course, the El Paso History Radio Show on Facebook. Go there for our weekly promo announcements on the topics of the program each week. You can also go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/El Paso History TV, where you can find the El Paso Gold DVD series from Capstone Productions, covering more than the last 20 years of history produced in the area, fully uploaded for free for your viewing pleasure, plus the 20 recent segments from the ABC7 TV series, again, from El Paso History TV. All of that is up there as well. So it kind of serves as our archive as well. But of course, as a reminder to support some of our advertisers, Pepe's Restaurant in Canutillo is open for in-house dining, 6761 Donovan Drive. You can give them a call at 915-877-2152. Of course, it is the home of the one and only margarita, and you can find us out there most Saturdays after the program to talk with us and, of course, support the great local businesses here. But for the meantime, joined here in studio, as we are going to be throughout the rest of this program, by Joe and Stephanie Nebhan. So thank you all very much for sticking around with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely happy to have you on here. So I think we dealt with a little bit of an audio issue there with you, Joe. Should be sounding better now. So thanks for the notes on that over online for anyone commenting on it. A lot of people doing so. But we have been talking about the progression of the history of the Gardner Hotel because, again, as we are marking, as of this week, like you said, auspicious time to do it, the 100th anniversary of the opening of it and therefore marking it as the continuously oldest operating hotel in the area. So when you say that, I mean, it's a qualified statement here because, of course, there was no hotels before that, but like you mentioned, the Depression, as we kind of got up to, was among other things. I mean, there have been a lot of times that things have not worked out, changes in hospitality and business currents in town. But I mean, that particular point in time, the 20s and the late 20s specifically, was a difficult time for any business.
Absolutely. It was very, very difficult. And but I assume the management did well with it. I know that Mr. Gardner sold the hotel, and I think there were several buyers on it. The one that my grandfather bought the building from was a gentleman named McMurray, but there were several owners of the hotel and several associations they were with. We found remnants of evidence of the Gardner Hotel and the McCoy Hotel being operating the same. Also of the Nevada Hotel. And those buildings are still there, but they're not operating as a hotel.
Right.
The oldest hotel in town is, of course, El Paso del Norte.
Right.
You know, it says, but they've been closed down several times. And where we haven't, because I guess we're much smaller and, we can do our renovations little at a time and have improvements go over time, where a big hotel makes it difficult.
That's true here. And of course, recently reopened again after a long period of being a great looking building, but not operating. When you're talking about the Paso del Norte here, again, been down there recently. You had them on the show previously as well, because that revitalization of downtown is important. But again, marking the currents of those who have managed to stay open throughout is pretty important here. So Stephanie, I want to bring you in here for a second to talk about, of course, how the hotel operates now for people who, I mean, you live in a town, you might not necessarily go to the hotels in the town. So those who have never actually experienced it, the operations now, how do y'all do it?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that when I took over, we did was change to an online reservation system. So before it was a mainly walk-in basis, but now we get people from all walks of life, and they book online. We're on Airbnb, we're on all those different websites. So that has changed. As long as like the idea of the hostel, I think that kind of changed. It turned more into like a boutique thing that instead of just being a cheap place to lay your head, it's a lot nicer. And since we are a 1920s hotel, we do have rooms that do not have a bathroom inside of it, and they have a hall bath. And so I think it's makes that like part of the hostel really cool, because it's not just the hostel, it's the whole building, because you can book a room as a hostel or as a hotel. It's just whether you have a bathroom down the hallway or not. But we also have private rooms. So I think just exposing all that online and the online presence, I think that gives it a really nice affordability to just about anybody. You can have a private room, or you can get a nice room with the hall bath for a little bit less expensive, or you can share a nice room with other people and share the accommodations that way. So I feel like it opened it up to a lot more people.
And again, moving with the times here on it again. I'm not even aware. Are there any other hostels in town that you're aware of?
No.
Yeah, that would say that's not something that is commonly done in this area, and the way that it then facilitates cheaper travel, youth travel, a lot of times. I mean, that's the way I've seen it talked about in Europe and other countries. The idea of being able to move around that kind of way and it's interesting, and the fact that it hadn't really existed in town, or at least not represented in town currently before this, has always kind of interested in me, even though I've never found myself doing a hostel travel myself. I'm kind of past that point in my life, but who knows? Maybe I'll find a way to do it one of these days here. Tell you what, we got to take that next break here already, but coming out of this break, we'll talk more about the continuing history of the Gardner Hotel. We kind of got through the 20s and talk about the Depression and the changes of hands here. But of course, we have some specific incidents of history that come up at that point in time as we then get into the Depression and related to Prohibition and all of these issues we talked about. So we're going to talk more about that after this break. Again, joined here in studio by Joe and Stephanie Nebhan, the owner and manager of the hotel as it is now. So back after this break with more on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Donovan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Donovan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152.
Sun City Craft Beer Fest, powered by iHeartMedia, returns to downtown El Paso at the Convention Center Plaza on May 21st and Sunday, May 22nd. Over 170 craft beers from the best local and national breweries, plus live music, food trucks, and a giant game zone. May 22nd will be Sunday Fun Day, all day long. Sunday only. Enjoy beer mosas, Bloody Marys, and more. Tickets include 10 samples of the beer or cider of your choice and a collectible beer glass. Get hosted beers and a free meal in the VIP lounge. Tickets and info at suncitycraftbeerfest.com.
From the host of the hit true crime podcasts Dr. Death and Bad Batch comes the brand new unbelievable story. Sympathy Pains investigates the shocking tale of one woman, a former nurse, who spent nearly 20 years faking illnesses and tragedies until her victims confronted her on national television.
Sarah DeLashmit told people she had leukemia or muscular dystrophy, even Ebola. She knew enough to be convincing, but it was all a lie.
Listen to Sympathy Pains on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-777-1225. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225.
Times of transition, whether from a sad event or a joyful one, can leave us feeling adrift. Social connections are an important part of a healthy life. Being isolated and lonely can be harmful to your health. It can lead to high blood pressure, a greater risk of heart disease, and early onset dementia. So it's important to build and maintain connections to people, not just in your family, but others whose relationships bring meaning to your life. Trying a new hobby, volunteering, exercising, even using your phone or other device to stay in touch with others. All these can be great ways to keep up your social connections and your physical and mental well-being. Visit connecttoeffect.org to see if you're at risk of social isolation and find ways to get connected. This message is brought to you by United Healthcare and AARP Foundation.
You get to hear your favorite podcast hosts talk. But now, for the first time ever, they get to hear you. Thanks to the new TalkBack mic on the free iHeart app. Here's how to do it. Simply tap the red TalkBack mic on the player screen of the app to send your voice message. Let your favorite podcast know what you thought about the latest episode. Ask and answer questions from the podcast, comment on topics, or just say hi and let them know where you listen. Hello. Easy, right? Talk back to your favorite podcasts with the TalkBack mic on the free iHeart app. Discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
And now, let's turn back the pages of time and return to the El Paso History Radio Show. Brought to you by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate, 915-588-1850. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant, 6761 Donovan Drive. By M1EP Management Corporation, 915-592-4549. By Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. Here again, El Paso History with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Of course, I have to talk about some of our partners in history and talking about the many different local history aspects and the current and natural history aspects here. Of course, celebrationsofOurMountains.org is a great resource for you to find out what's going on and how you can get literally out there and find out what's going on. You can find them at celebrationofourmountains.org. Bit of a mouthful, but if you even search up the close to the right name, you can probably find them. But again, celebrationofourmountains.org. And they've got a lot of hikes coming up here, including one coming up next Saturday at Ottervino's Desert Crossing, the Dino Hike, hosted by, well, a very truly an El Paso original, Eric Kappas, because of the way that he has contributed to the history of the region. And if you're ever going to find out anything about that site and those dino tracks, he's going to be the person to talk to. So that'll be coming up May 14th, a little bit later in the month as well. They'll be doing more out there at Ottervino's Desert Crossing, including a useful plant series. So be sure to check them out on that. They got stuff currently on the calendar through November already. So if you want to find out anything about that, celebrationofourmountains.org. And of course, our friends at Monterey Asset Management have changed their name. You may have heard that. M1EP Management Corporation is what they are now, making it easier to find them because their website, m1ep.com. That's M1ep.com. You can give them a call at 915-592-4549, 915-592-4549 for local investment and property management opportunities here. But joined here in studio again right now by Joe and Stephanie Nebhan, the, again, owner and manager, respectively, of the Gardner Hotel. So thank you all very much for sticking around with us here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you.
Absolutely happy to have you on because talking about some of these interesting aspects of the history. So we, of course, are marking the centennial celebrations of the Gardner Hotel this week, really. I knew that you all were doing some more specific things a little bit later in the month, but happy to have you on to talk about it on the week before it happens, because something being around that long is important to mark, but even just charting the history of the building, the businesses operating in it, and of course, the people that came through it is a very interesting one. And we're going to be getting into some names that people might recognize, because right before this, we were talking about, of course, the opening of the hotel in the early 20s, and that how, Gardner himself pretty quickly left town after that due to, the fates of politics and business for himself and, love life too, as you were saying. But then as it changed hands sometimes, and as we get into the Depression, that's a time when, again, we were talking about a lot of businesses closing, but this one managed to stay open. And you were talking a little bit, we were discussing during the break here about the style of the way this hotel operated at that time as a railroad hotel kind of style.
Exactly. Or as the railroad hotels were, a dime a dozen in the day. I remember when I was small and was going downtown, there are a ton of small hotels downtown. And slowly but surely, they've all closed down except for us. And we're getting stronger every day again.
Mm-hmm.
So thank God to our great management we have here. But, says, yes, it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping it going today. But so that railroad style is important for a couple of reasons, because, it was kind of a no fuss kind of experience back in the day.
Well, if you remember, well, you probably don't remember, but I remember when the train tracks going through downtown
Oh yeah.
were on the street, on street level. And they changed it. They put them, I think it's called the Bataan Railway, which runs underneath downtown.
Yeah, and they lowered it below ground level. And we have, I mean, if you're not looking down, and if we're worth of the fact that we have names like the Locomotive Sports Team downtown that are at market here, you might not, if you don't look over the side of the bridge there, you might not realize that, yeah, there's a train down there. Because sure, it was a great asset when it first came through in downtown. I mean, it connected El Paso to the most modern form of transportation at the time. But then over time, as El Paso grew, it became more of a liability because, well, as a train stopped there, you're almost cutting downtown in half.
That's correct. That's a whole reason why.
So the idea of being able to people coming through there, getting off the train, and then just finding simple lodging enough for overnight or until their next train left was, very much in demand, and even I'm assuming kept on a bit even into the Depression because, cheap accommodation was always, I could see that being very important at that point in time.
Yes, money was definitely tight for all people, not only just the United States, all over the world. It says, because of the hard economic times, of course, what happened was there was a serious increase in crime all across the United States, and that involved burglaries and murders and bank robberies and everything. And that's probably one of the most interesting stories of the hotel came upon us.
Right.
I remember when we first heard about it. It was probably in the late 60s, early 70s, and I was in the lobby. My dad was there, and elderly African-American gentleman walks into the hotel, and we asked, how can we help you? And he says, oh, I'm just looking around. I used to work here. And he says, yeah, I'm the one that carried up John Dillinger's baggage upstairs. And he says, John Dillinger? We'd heard nothing about that.
Really? So you didn't, at that point in time, no idea?
No idea at all whatsoever. And we started, investigating. I was really excited about it. I even went to Chris Fox and if you remember Chris Fox, and spoke with him about it. He was a sheriff at the time, sheriff deputy at the time in El Paso. And I spoke with him, and he verified it. It says, so on it was January 9th, 1934. A gentleman and two other guests, the minimum of two other guests, checked into the hotel, and he signed in as Mr. John D. Ball. Okay, John D. Ball was John Herbert Dillinger. And the other men were Harry Pierpont and Charles Mackley. And they were there, and they were spent 3-4 days there. Dillinger would not ride our elevator, which was installed in 1929. It wasn't original. And, they were in several days, and they left. There's no problems. But immediately, the next town they got to was Tucson, Arizona. They were heading west.
Yep.
They went to Tucson, Arizona, and at 311, same number as the hotel, is the Congress Hotel in Tucson, Arizona. And it was a 3-story hotel at the time, built in 1919. And while Dillinger was there, the top floor caught fire. And so the firemen, they went and they helped Dillinger and his gang out of the room. And
unbeknownst to them at that exact moment,
they did not know it was Dillinger. They didn't put one and one together. And the fire was over and everything. And the baggage he had was real heavy, like the gentleman said earlier. And they were back at the station, and they were going through a True Detective magazine, and they had this picture of John Dillinger in there. And he says, that's the guy I helped get out of the Congress Hotel during the fire. And boom, it says he went out there. The local police, not the FBI or anyone else,
right?
The local police went to a motel down the road, and that's where they captured him. And he was such a high security, shall I say, a high figure person. They didn't bring him back via train or automobile. They flew him. And there's one of the first stopping point was here in El Paso. And
so he came back through town. I actually didn't know that part.
Through town, okay, not of his own accord.
Well, of course.
He had little bracelets on both his hands. But he identified the hotel as the hotel that was directly across the street from the train tracks.
Okay.
And the train, which across the street where there was I forgot the name of the bank. They've changed so often. Well, it was the old Southern Pacific building, little one-story building they have there. It used to be a park, and that's where they had the old steam locomotive directly across the street from the hotel. So, that went on, and shortly after that, he went to Crown Point, Indiana, where probably his most famous escapade happened, which was the breaking out of the jail by carving a piece of wood or
the
bar
gun.
Soap, painted it black with shoe polish, and escaped out of the toughest jail in Indiana at the time. And he then proceeded to steal the sheriff's vehicle, and he escaped.
The Ford four-door that there was sheriff, and it was I just had to look this up recently. It was they touted it as an escape-proof jail, and he bluffed his way out through dozens of guards, armed guards even, and bluffed them into their armory cabinet by using the wooden gun.
Exactly.
So he didn't have any particular incidents except coming back through town here. I mean, he kind of kept a low profile. And I know there was some question on, actually, it wasn't known that he was in town at the time because he was under alias, as you mentioned.
Well, I asked Mr. Chris Fox about that, and he told me, well, we knew he was in town.
They did know he was in town. Okay.
We knew he was in town, but he hadn't broken any laws in Texas.
And that's the connected part of the story.
At the time, the FBI was just starting to get moving. There was a lot of laws that, it says if it didn't break a law in that state, well, you're free to go.
And of course, the FBI at that point in time, I mean, Herbert Hoover was then the director of the FBI and really looking to, make his bones and build up the scientific crime fighting organization as the build himself as the PR he did at that point in time was amazing. But they really didn't get involved into it really until after, among other things, the breakout there in Indiana, because then he crossed state lines in the commission of a crime, and that's where they got very interested.
Exactly. That law had recently been passed that gave the FBI the authority over that, and that's what happened. And he was walking with the famous Lady in Red. Okay, after seeing at the Biograph Theater where they watched Manhattan Melodrama. And after the movie, they said the Lady in Red was, when you see her, the guy with her is going to be John Dillinger. Well, firstly, that's a misnomer because the dress wasn't red. It was really orange. Okay. And they went and they called his name out. He saw the people. He was carrying his 45 with him. And he started run. He ran around the corner down the alley. And that's where that's where he got killed. In fact, we have his death mask at the hotel.
Right.
It's, like I said, it's very, shall I say, interesting, kind of macabre, but it's nice. It's a nice thing to have.
Yeah, the whole concept of the death mask, and we do have that picture over up on our social media right now. Again, Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, one of the main ones here. And so this is in your lobby, the picture we're looking at right there, both the picture of Dillinger, plaque commemorating him, and then again, the death mask, which again, not a concept you see around like a whole lot anymore, but it was commonplace previously and even at that point in time here. So again, not that he kicked up a lot of trouble in town. The fact that he was known is interesting.
Exactly.
Because, he just managed to kind of slip through town like, oh, he didn't do anything bad here. So,
the Wild West.
Because, think about the confluence of all the things going on at that point in time. The Depression was in full swing by that point he came through. And Dillinger was one of these many gangster types at that point in time that kind of burst on the scene and found themselves, famous and infamous on almost equal measure. Because honestly, the way he just kind of slipped through town like that is more, if you look into his history, how he was able to operate in general, because they would, do whatever they were going to do crime wise, robbing banks, and then just kind of fade back into the populace. That's kind of what he did here in El Paso.
That's exactly right. And that's how come he was in Chicago when it happened. He wanted to be in a small town, in a large town where he would be a very small fish. But of course, informants got the better of him.
Absolutely.
You know what? Also, another fact, Dillinger was the first most wanted person in the United States by the FBI. And we have his wanted poster for this in the lobby of the hotel also.
Again, the lobby is a good place to go look at. Again, pop up a picture of that here as from one of the side views, again, with that original actual phone booth there, which is fascinating. Because, yeah, Public Enemy #1, as it was put in that movie that had came out within the last, this century anyway, that kind of dramatizes some of it. It's not a totally accurate historical portrayal of it. Some people die when they didn't actually in that movie, but it's an interesting concept, and the whole portrayal of him as this kind of folk hero at the time, whether you believe it or not, some people did.
Well, the only real thing that got him in real trouble was killing a police officer, which is, I believe, O'Malley was his last name. He killed him, and that really put the eyes on him. And he was a cop killer. And they wanted to, get their revenge. That's where it was, It says, and then, everything was pretty quiet at the hotel. No real records were found of anything that went on at the hotel. And later on, the Depression, and World War II. But World War II, we understand that there was kind of a boom in business. That's because of being downtown by the trains and the troops and everything moving back and forth. It became pretty profitable during World War II. And right after World War II, that's when my grandfather, Joseph George Nebhan, purchased the hotel for the same price that it was built for, $135,000.
Wow. So we'll have to talk more about that here, because we are definitely due for this next break here. We will take a phone call or two if people are wanting to chime in that way. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544 KTSM. Back after this break with more with more of the El Paso History Radio Show here. Got to keep our show straight here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his legacy home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
Sun City Craft Beer Fest returns to downtown El Paso at the Convention Center Plaza on Saturday, May 21st and Sunday, May 22nd. Check out over 170 craft beers from the best local and national breweries, plus live music, food trucks, a giant game zone, Sunday Fun Day specials, and more. The Sun City Craft Beer Fest is brought to you in part by Upper Valley Urgent Care. When you see us at Upper Valley Urgent Care, you're getting unmatched service and convenience. We're open 7 days a week and voted best urgent care in El Paso.
Honey, did our DIY just turn into R&R?
Yep, call R&R Electrical Services. Providing the best residential and commercial electrical services at the best rates in the El Paso area. Call your team today at 915-474-4933. 915-474-4933.
You're looking for real news. News Nation doesn't take sides or lean into political agendas. At News Nation, you get all sides. If you're looking for news without the noise, come back to the news with News Nation. News for all America. Go to newsnationnow.com/join us to find your television provider.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
And now let's turn back the pages of time and return to the El Paso History Radio Show. Brought to you by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate, 915-588-1850. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant, 6761 Donovan Drive. By M1 EP Management Corporation, 915-592-4549. By Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. Here again, El Paso History with Andrew J. Polk.
A couple of our other partners in local history we want to mention here. Rick Kern's music podcast, Talk and Rock Radio. Go to talkandrockradio.com to catch what he is talking about. Of course, as the longtime operator of the Border Legends tour that I got to be a part of as well, and well, the production aspect of it anyway. Great discussion about some of the bands and people that came in and through town that way. But of course, with our sponsors, call 915-588-1850 for Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate. Patrick is an excellent realtor, done a lot of good work for our family, so you can find him for El Paso homes for sale or rent at, again, 915-588-1850. So again, joined here in studio as we are this hour by the Nebhans, Joe and Stephanie Nebhan, the owner and manager respectively here. We did have put out the phone number there, so I think we had a question on the line here. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544 KTSM. We have Marky on the line here with us. Marky, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew, you're doing a great job filling the shoes of your father. This is a great show. You're doing an awesome job.
I appreciate it there. I think, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
I wanted to ask a question. It's a little off topic from the Gardner Hotel. When I was a little boy, I think around 1980, I was around 7 or 8. Every Friday, my grandmother had a date, myself and my grandmother. We'd go to the Chase building. No, I don't even know if it was the Chase building then, but the railroad passed through the building underneath. And my grandmother went there every Friday, and she would get confectionaries and specific cigarettes that came from San Francisco, California. And there was a millinery there. There were many little shops in that little area. And she would get her cigarettes, I guess they were called Chesterfields or something. I really don't remember now. And nougat and all sorts of different confectionaries from San Francisco. Does that even exist anymore? Does the train stop? And are there shops down there? Because I think it would be a great tourist draw if we could really build down literally something called the El Paso Underground and create a slew of businesses that are actually underneath, like bars, restaurants, little businesses that would stretch all the way as far as they could go. Do you know if the train stops there anymore? Because I know it passes underneath. Does the train stop? Because I know the Amtrak stopped and dropped off a lot of different things going east or west. So maybe you guys could fill me in on the information, because I think that would be great for the older generation to take their younger kids that actually remember that. Because I do remember it. My grandmother would park over at the Popular or the White House. We'd walk over, take the escalator down below street level.
Yeah. Tell you what, Marky, that's an interesting point, an interesting question you got there, but we're running into the end of this break here. So we'll answer that question coming out of this next segment here and the top of the hour restart here on the El Paso History Radio Show. We'll put that to our questions to our guests here. Again, the Nebhans, Joe and Stephanie, owner and operator of the Gardner Hotel. So stick around with us for more on the El Paso History Radio Show after the top of the hour news here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Thank you for listening to the El Paso History Radio Show. There's another hour to go, so please stay tuned. This hour is brought to you by Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant, home of the Juan and only Margarita, by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate, 915-588-1850, by M1 EP Management Corporation, 915-592-4549, by Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. We'll be right back after the news, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
The True Crime Podcast, What Happened to Sandy Beale, investigates the alarming death of a young woman who dreamed of a career in law enforcement. Journalist Melissa Jeltsin untangles the mystery at the heart of the investigation, revealing a troubling pattern by officials close to the case.
I didn't take any of their crap because I could tell that they were hiding something.
Listen to What Happened to Sandy Beale on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 on News Radio 690 KTSM, breaking down the impact of the news on the borderland and beyond. Brought to you in part by Mission Del Rey Southwest, souvenirs, gifts, and decor. That's Talk El Paso, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
We all enjoy the finer things in life, and Mom is no exception. Mesa Street Grill wants to share affordable luxuries with everyone. Mesa Street Grill features tender steaks, fresh seafood, delicious and delightful pastas, to elegant salads and sinful desserts. Call Mesa Street Grill now and make your reservations for Mother's Day weekend, May 7th through May 10th. Experience live music and culinary sensational cuisine. Call now, 915-532-1881. Mesa Street Grill has Mom's favorites, 3800 North Mesa, one of El Paso's premier fine dining restaurants.
NBC News Radio, I'm Julie Ryan. President Biden is expected to announce another large aid package to help Ukrainian forces fight back against the Russian invasion. Reports say the new aid package will be worth over $100 million. First Lady Jill Biden is visiting Ukrainian school children in Romania today. It's day 2 of her 4-day trip to Romania and Slovakia. Dr. Biden praised teachers for giving refugee students a sense of normalcy at a public school in Bucharest. She also thanked Romania for being a strong partner in assisting with the Ukrainian crisis. The House Speaker says the fight goes on to make sure the Roe v. Wade abortion decision becomes the law of the land.
We want to enshrine that in the law. We already passed that in the House months ago. The Senate will take it up on Wednesday, and we have to keep fighting until that right is protected.
Nancy Pelosi made the comment just days after Politico published a leaked Supreme Court draft decision that indicated justices were ready to overturn the decades-old ruling. The California Democrat said the focus must be on what this means for the American people. There's a shortage of baby formula in the U.S. A spokesperson for CVS says it's only allowing customers to buy 3 baby formula products per purchase, both in stores and online. Walgreens issued a similar limitation at its stores. Other reports show Target and Walmart limiting baby formula purchases. The shortage is partly due to a major production facility in Michigan being shut down as a result of a federal probe into reports of contaminated products. It's Derby Day in Kentucky. The first leg of horse racing's Triple Crown takes place today at Churchill Downs. A full field of 20 thoroughbreds are expected to enter the starting gate in the 148th Run for the Roses in Louisville. Odds makers have installed Zandon and Epicenter as the heavy favorites. You're listening to the latest on NBC News Radio.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. This weekend does look to be a windier setup for us, with Mother's Day looking to be the windier day of the two. And it looks like also we're looking at some very warm temperatures.
Are you over 65 or turning 65? Whether you're new to Medicare or already have a plan, important changes in Medicare take place every year that most Americans miss. Get your Medicare maximized with Chapter, a free service that makes sure you have the right plan now and continued concierge service whenever you need a change. At Chapter, we instantly compare thousands of plans from the most trusted insurers to find our members the best and most affordable plans for them, the right Medicare coverage for you, including plans to cover gaps in Medicare Part A and Part B. Important benefits like vision, dental, and prescription coverage that could save you thousands of dollars each year. Maximize your Medicare with Chapter, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. The service is free, so call and speak with an advisor. Let us help your next chapter be the best one yet. Call 800-607-2155, 800-607-2155, 800-607-2155.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
I owe the IRS $37,000.
Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs that may protect you from IRS collection agencies. They have the power to garnish your wages, put liens on your property, and levy your bank account. Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief basically represented me against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, I didn't owe the IRS anything.
Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
I would recommend anyone who has a tax problem to contact Civic Tax Relief.
Just call 800-583-9917. 800-583-9917.
Don't wait. Call now. 800-583-9917. 800-583-9917.
Traffic's bad enough without Mother Nature adding to your headache. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Join Brian Birds of the Brian Birds Home Selling Team every Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. for real estate tips with Brian. The best in El Paso when it comes to selling. Brian is an expert in real estate. Listen every Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. on KTSM AM 690 for tips on buying or selling your home, info on what's going on in the market today, and much, much more. Real estate tips with Brian every Sunday morning at 7:30 on KTSM AM 690.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
News Radio 690 KTSM presents the second hour of the El Paso History Radio Show with your host, Andrew J. Polk, streaming live at ktsmradio.com. Brought to you by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate, 915-588-1850. By Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant, home of the Juan and only Margarita. By M1 EP Management Corporation, 915-592-4549. By Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, for El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. And now El Paso History with your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show. Starting out hour 2 of the program here, we do have a history moment from documentary filmmaker Jackson Polk, this time about the Mexican-American War and, of course, the events relating to it here in the borderland.
In the push for Western expansion, the United States declared war on Mexico in April 1846. Colonel Alexander Donovan, commanding the Missouri Volunteers, also known as the Traders Battalion, marched down the Rio Grande on the Camino Real headed to Mexico. On Christmas Day, 1846, Donovan's forces were attacked by some 700 Mexican soldiers at Brazito, or Little Arm, an old channel of the river 25 miles north of El Paso. The Mexicans attacked, firing guns and shooting at the U.S. soldiers with bows and arrows. Donovan's men immediately dropped to the ground, causing the Mexicans to think they had killed them all. But the better-trained U.S. soldiers were just making themselves smaller targets and returned fire on the advancing Mexicans, ultimately winning the battle. After their victory, the Missouri Volunteers occupied El Paso del Norte, now present-day Juarez, for almost 6 weeks before the final march into Chihuahua began. The fighting ended when U.S. General Winfield Scott occupied Mexico City in September 1847. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed on February 2, 1848, formally ending the war, and leading to the Gadsden Purchase in 1850. The U.S.-Mexico War added 1.2 million square miles of territory to the United States, including the California and New Mexico territories, and set the Rio Grande as the border between the two countries. In return for the vast lands, the United States paid Mexico $15 million, agreed to honor Spanish land grants, and settled the claims of U.S. citizens against Mexico. It was a turning point in the push west by the United States. I'm Jackson Polk with this history moment for the El Paso History Radio Show.
Also further in mentioning some of our great partners in El Paso history, of course, Barbara Given-Bainey, operator of the great Facebook page Remember in El Paso When. You can go there for archive pictures galore, more than 33,000 members. But please remember, these administrators work hard in researching the photos for the history that is attached to them. So when you use their photos, please give credit to them. And of course, a lot of credit given to them in general for the operation of that site. It is no mean feat to make that just happen every day. So of course, Chief Admin and Owner and Historian Barbara Given-Bainey, also affectionately known as BGB. Also admins Rick Duncan, Rick Nahara, Margaret D. Smith, and Paul Louie, and moderator Ben Vincent. We do appreciate them. We're again also streaming over on that page up here today, and we just appreciate all the work that they do in helping to talk about El Paso history. But joined here again in studio by Joe and Stephanie Nebhan, owner and operator manager of the Gardner Hotel, which we are marking the 100th anniversary of this week here. So very happy to have you all in the studio. And we have a couple of questions that have come up here. One that we got to, well, right at the end of the last hour there was about, well, the train tracks we were talking about there. And there was actually an interesting comment as well. Mark Howe was mentioning that Here's a picture from the 1920s showing the train tracks downtown at Kansas and Maine with the Anson Mills building in view. So we'll have to look up that picture here before too long, showing that, again, it used to be a very much dominating presence of downtown. So that question that was coming up from Markey, end of last hour, was about, well, the way the trains work now. Remember, it's going to somewhere vaguely underground, and how does the train interact with downtown now? I mean, y'all probably have a better perspective than I do, but anytime I've gone by there, it seems to be just a viaduct. I mean, the train passes through. There's no, like, ground connection to it. You're not dealing anything with that current train passage from street level, right?
That's correct. You cannot enter in the area unless you enter in from either side.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not recommend that to anyone. As is, trains still go through there.
Oh, yeah.
And, but they don't stop anymore. But it's all virtually freight. Of course, most trains now are just freight. There's just, I think, three trains out of El Paso a week right now, and so it's not there, and there's no real space. I know what he's talking about. As in Atlanta, I believe they have a thing called the underground,
okay,
where they have shops and bars and stuff like that. I think we need to fill up the ground floor, should I say, the buildings that are empty downtown, restore them, and get them occupied and help create a vibrant downtown.
I'll agree with you there. Barbara Givenbany mentioned, the Baton Trainway, calling that area down there. And it's basically a pass-through. And something that has happened that people may not have fully recognized is, of course, there's the huge train yard that used to exist a little bit east of downtown that has largely been emptied out now because there's very many fewer train tracks. I mean, it used to be just solid parallel train tracks, and now there's a handful because most of those operations have now actually been moved out to the Santa Teresa area, in which they have this huge intermodal facility. I've actually gotten a chance to see that from helicopter flying over it, and that's where all the train tracks went. So it's still a pass through here, and you mentioned there is still that Amtrak part at the Union Depot, just a little bit, again, not too far from the ballpark itself here. And you can definitely feel on certain days when you're at the ballpark, literally feel the train coming through, because it's still in operation. So I don't know if that's possible to be here, but interesting to know about underground. And so, kind of as a related question, something came up. Flaco Jimenez asking, do the Nebhans own and or manage Dillinger's bar in the basement, so underground of those current location, or is it a separate entity?
I own the property where Dillinger's is located, but it is leased out to owners. If you haven't been there, people have to go. As the most recently opened up thing we did, we in 2012. That was just empty space that we were being taxed on, and I wanted to bring in an income stream. And so I spent the money, brought in the air conditioning, fire suppression systems, staircases, everything like that, and it's opened up. It's supposed to be a jazz bar, which is really nice, beautiful inside. It is beautiful. They kept all the old brick and everything in there. It really has a feeling of it. And of course, the name Dillinger's, they have some memorabilia of John Dillinger in the bar itself.
We work closely with them.
Of
Any of our guests who stay with us, they show their key at any of our neighboring restaurants and bars, they get discounts. So they get, like, at Dillinger's, an 8.5, they get a buy one, get one free, and a Weller Domestic, one per night. Per room.
Important to note here. And also just want to mention, just to put a pin in that you will, beyond the death mask that we showed at the end of last hour, that you have some other, you actually have a recreation of the Dillinger style, Tommy gun, actually in your lobby as well, right?
Yes, that's correct. And you'll see a picture of Dillinger holding a Tommy gun with a drum magazine on it.
Yeah.
And, which is fine and everything, but the real truth about it is that Dillinger didn't like the Tommy gun. He preferred the BAR if he was going to go to automatic fire.
Yep, Browning automatic rifle, which was, a very serious implement of, suppression was his main way, but he wasn't, again, adverse to firing at authorities who were seeking to apprehend him, as, what got him into his most ultimate trouble.
That's correct. That's correct.
And Blockamet is commenting back at Dillinger's a great place to relax and listen to jazz here. So I think he appreciates that area here. But so that kind of takes us pretty neatly into, well, the history as we talked to about it, because we got all the way through, well, essentially, the Great Depression era, World War I here. Well, actually, one more question I want to get to before we get into your family's history with it. We had a question from Bobby during a break here about, are there any ghost stories in the building? I know that a lot of downtown has a lot of areas that have some questions about this. Are there any that you're aware of or experiences, so to speak, within the Gardner Hotel?
Well, a couple months ago, I experienced a couple things.
Mhm.
And usually when people ask me, I am like, "Well, is there one ghost that haunts this place? I don't know, but do weird things happen?" Yeah, like
Okay.
seeing things out of the corner of your eye. We've had guests, a room was vacant in between two other rooms, and guests come saying, "Hey, somebody was banging in the room all night. Things are banging around," and both guests on both sides of the room reported it, and that room was empty.
Oh,
So things like
okay.
that. But the most recently, a few months ago, I was covering an overnight shift,
Mhm.
and the young gentlemen came in, and he and his friends, they wanted to rent a room, and they had they're processing their credit card. So I was holding the pen because to kind of guide them through the credit card processing
Sure.
part of it. And as I'm holding the pen, and they were kind of freaked out, like, are there ghosts? Like, what's going on? Are there ghosts in
Okay.
here? And so they're holding the pen, and it gets to the part where the signature comes out. And as I'm holding the pen, it starts signing over and over and over again. I was like, oh my goodness. And
Oh my.
I was
Okay.
trying to see if it was like signing a name or something I could say, but I couldn't distinguish anything, but it was over and over and over again. And that happened to me twice, working overnight, but nobody else has ever reported that. It's never happened to anybody else. But so that was probably the most recent occurrence that I've experienced. But like, there's stories in between that everybody has something that's happened. But
Some of your own traveling set of ghosts there as well, potentially here. So, again, when we're talking about the history and marking the 100th anniversary of the Gardner Hotel as the oldest continuously operating hotel in town, we had gotten all the way up to essentially where your family got involved here. And so that date is, essentially aftermath of World War II is when essentially your family stepped in, right?
That's correct. My grandfather purchased it. I don't have an exact date, but it was right after World War II, probably 1946, 47. And he purchased it from the then owner, Mr. McMurray, William McMurray.
Mhm.
And Mr. McMurray, of course, he ran a small chain of hotels throughout the U.S. In
Okay.
fact, I know of two hotels he was running here, which was earlier mentioned, the Nevada Hotel
Mhm.
and the Gardner, of course. And he wanted to sell the Gardner, and my grandfather purchased it on the stipulation that Mr. McMurray leases it back from my grandfather, and he continues running it. It would be more or less just a leasehold arrangement. So
Okay.
it says, and it worked out until 1962, and where McMurray had gotten pretty old and got a new wife, and things started going downhill. The management of the hotel was not that good. It was kind of, to put it blankly, seedy.
Okay.
And they didn't keep up with the rent payments to my grandfather.
Oh, so that's a definite issue.
Okay, so it's 1962 comes about in June of 1962. My grandfather goes and evicts him as the owner, and my gave it to my father, John Nebhan.
Okay.
And my father then cleaned house. I remember it was a pretty busy hotel, but we spoke earlier about Juarez, what a lively place it used to be. Well, the hotel was working hand in glove with Juarez, because some of the ballerinas from the clubs in Juarez lived at the Gardner. He proceeded to fire all staff except for one housekeeper, one clerk, and the janitor. Fired everyone, threw everyone out but 5 people, and started renting rooms on a monthly basis. It turned into SRO, single room occupancy hotel. And it continued like that, all along. Of course, we had occasional guests come in, that were, a day or two, stuff like that. In fact, that's how the hostel came in. And he ran, as I said earlier, I started working at the hotel in 62, not working. I started going to the hotel. And that's where I learned all about downtown, because I got pretty bored just hanging out at the hotel with all those old people. And I started wandering around downtown. And I wandered all around. I learned everything. I knew where everything was. I mean, downtown was imprinted on my brain. And that's how come I know where things were and stuff like that. And, I continued to work there through high school, some college. I can always work there, but it wasn't enough for me to get a decent living. So after college, I worked at what was known as Skaggs on Mesa's, now I think known as Albertsons. On North Mesa. I was a manager out there. And after that, I would work at the hotel, and I was able to go and feed my family.
An important thing to do.
Yeah. So, it went on. And in 1981, late 1980, my father had asked me if I wanted the hotel. My God, that was a dream of my life.
Wow.
And I had an offer to go to work for Taylor Wine out of New York. And I turned that job down and decided to be a hometown boy and take over the Gardner. And it was a challenge.
Oh, I'm sure. And so I'll tell you what, we'll have to get more into that here in this next segment. Due for that break here right now. Again, joined here in studio by Joe Nebhan and Stephanie Nebhan, owner and manager of the hotel, respectively, here. So we'll talk more about that, the transitions that saw here, as well as some more of those, shall we say, famous occupants and or residents here as we come out with the next segment here on the El Paso History Radio Show. We will take a phone call or two. If you want to drop us a line, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544 KTSM. Back after this break with more talk of the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549. El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso.
It's a grand in your hand.
$1,000. $1,000.
No NFTs or ESGs. It's $1,000 straight to you.
That is awesome. Awesome.
Listen every hour from 9 through 5 weekdays for your chance to win.
A grand in your hand is brought to you by Approved Autos. Ride out in your new ride in less than an hour. Get payments as low as $159 a month. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. If you got your license and you got a job, they smell a deal. The deals are sweeter at Approved Autos, 8498 Alameda.
Sun City Craft Beer Fest, powered by iHeartMedia, returns to downtown El Paso at the Convention Center Plaza on Saturday, May 21st and Sunday, May 22nd. Check out over 170 craft beers from the best local and national breweries, plus live music, food trucks, a giant game zone, Sunday Fun Day specials, and more. Tickets include 10 samples of the beer or cider of your choice, and a collectible beer glass. Get hosted beers and a free meal in the VIP lounge. Tickets and info at suncitycraftbeerfest.com.
Talk El Paso weekdays at 4 on News Radio 690 KTSM, breaking down the impact of the news on the borderland and beyond. Brought to you in part by Mission Del Rey Southwest, souvenirs, gifts, and decor. That's Talk El Paso, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information. Full refund of price paid available for first 60-day supply.
ED can be tough on a relationship, but through HIMS, you can contact a medical provider online and, if appropriate, get prescription medication to treat ED affordably. HIMS offers the same active ingredient as Viagra, but costs 90% less. That's right, 90% less. And they have a 60-day money-back guarantee. Get a free online consultation at forhims.com/joy. forhims.com/joy.
I'm Mark Crafts. I'm a stage 4 cancer survivor, and I've been through quite a lot. And I'm here today because of breakthroughs and because of great care. Conquer Cancer is so important to me. When you back Conquer Cancer, you are really helping researchers break through with an idea that may save lives. Help me accelerate cancer research. You can make a difference for every cancer, every patient, everywhere. Visit conquer.org.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
And now, let's turn back the pages of time and return to the El Paso History Radio Show. Brought to you by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate, 915-588-1850. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant, 6761 Donovan Drive. By M1 EP Management Corporation, 915-592-4549. By Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. Here again, El Paso History with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you very so much for joining us for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing live here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Got to tell you what's coming up next week on the program here. May have heard an errant promo there right before our show here today, but coming up next week, we will be talking with Patricia Kidney and Woody Barr for talking respectively about Concordia and El Paso Railroad Days, a couple sets of events coming up here, and how you can get involved and go out and see it. And of course, the history involved in it. Concordia doing some of their commemorations for Memorial Day towards the end of the month here, and also again being able to see some of the locomotives that really drove El Paso literally back in the day. So we'll be talking about all of that here coming up next week on the program. One more sponsor to remind you about as well, Mission Del Rey Southwest. Go there for get everything you need for your own home decor, even local products, and of course a great place to take out-of-town visitors who really want that Southwest flavor and really the kind of stuff that you can only find here in the borderland. They've got a great selection restocked with local items, not even just when it comes to decor, even wearables, but even food items that you really want to get, again, the literal flavor of the Southwest. Great place to go to. So go to missiondelrey.com, a lot of their stuff up on their site, or visit there again, 12,000 square foot showroom over there on Lee Trevino. Again, missiondelrey.com for all the details on them, or you can give them a call at 915-440-2140, 915-440-2140, and mention the El Paso History Radio Show for a discount. Let them know we sent you over there. We would appreciate it. But again, joined here in studio by Joe and Stephanie Nebhan with the Gardner Hotel as we're marking the 100th anniversary of the opening of such here. And we were talking about your family's involvement in it and getting into it. And again, it was kind of interesting. You mentioned there the switch from being that railroad hotel, that short occupancy, waiting until you get to the next train kind of thing, too, as it had ended up being that almost residential before the literal and figurative cleaning of house happened as your family took more active management of it. But even then, there was still a lot of, longer term occupancy. I mean, they've got this now modern concept of essentially, extended stay hotels. This was kind of a prototype of that almost, it sounds like.
That's correct. And they're known as SROs, single room occupancy hotels. And it's not a, shall I say, flattering title. I really, it's just, like I said, I had to do it because there was just so much to do in the hotel when I took it over. And, but we met some interesting people. One was a gentleman named Colonel John K. Sells. And he was one of he had pictures of him and Chou En-lai, if you remember who Chou En-lai is. He was, I think, the premier of Communist China.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay. He was one of the negotiators in the Korean peace talks.
Wow.
So he lived there. We had scouts, Jim Hamilton was a scout for the Yankees, ex-POWs from the war. But probably the most famous resident of the hotel was somebody you probably have heard of and is still alive today. And his name is Cormac McCarthy.
Yep.
And if you ever saw the movie No Country for Old Men, that's Cormac's work. And a number of years ago, he actually received the Pulitzer Prize.
Of course, here.
For his work. And he lived at the hotel. I knew him. I mean, he lived at the hotel, probably till, the early 80s, 83, 84. And that's when he started getting some of his work published. I know that he got a grant from the, I forgot what foundation that was, but for his writing, he got a huge grant. And he moved on, it's just he didn't have to stay in an SRO.
Yeah. Again, that SRO concept is an interesting one here. And again, very different even now from the evolution we saw from Railroad Hotel to people just living there to now then SRO. And now it is now you again have, regular hotel rooms and again, as people conceive of them now anyway. And then again, the hostel part of it, right?
Definitely. It's mostly a daily stay hotel. After COVID, we opened up a few rooms for a weekly stay, but other than that, it's a daily stay.
So, things continue to evolve as, needs must and such here. So, tell you what, that's going to take us through our next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll talk more about that interesting individual there. And because it's more than just writings and, publishing and waiting to be published happened there. There are actually mentions here in flavor of the hotel that went into some of these writings and a whole lot more of Cormac McCarthy, as well, of course, to where the hotel is now. So we're going to talk all about that and a whole lot more after this break with more on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, if you got a memory or something you want to add on, we will take a phone call or two. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more on the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Donovan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the one and only margarita from the Cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Donovan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152.
Many retired El Paso area homeowners don't know where to begin when it comes to downsizing and selling their home. Patrick Tuttle and his Legacy Home team follow a proven process to help retired homeowners sell faster and for more money. Call Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850 today and get your home sold faster and for more money. That's Patrick Tuttle at 915-588-1850. Call him today.
From the host of the hit true crime podcasts Dr. Death and Bad Batch comes a brand new, unbelievable story. Sympathy Pains investigates the shocking tale of one woman, a former nurse, who spent nearly 20 years faking illnesses and tragedies until her victims confronted her on national television.
Sarah DeLashmit told people she had leukemia or muscular dystrophy, even Ebola. She knew enough to be convincing, but it was all a lie.
Listen to Sympathy Pains on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru. Join me on The Travel Show every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. We talk all things travel, favorite places, how to travel more and pay less, secret hideaways, discount airline tickets and cruises, and the best travel deals on the planet. It's The Travel Show every Sunday evening, 7 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. And I'll tell you where to go and how to get there.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness, modern medicine or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, Bed Bath, and Walmart. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
The job market is competitive right now, so you need to be competitive to attract top talent. If you're trying to fill open positions at your business, iHeartMedia is here to help. Use radio and digital targeting to find fresh, passive candidates currently in the workforce. These candidates are listening right now, looking for new opportunities. Together, we can let the community know you're hiring. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-777-1225. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
And now, let's turn back the pages of time and return to the El Paso History Radio Show. Brought to you by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate. 915-588-1850. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant, 6761 Donovan Drive. By M1 EP Management Corporation, 915-592-4549. By Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. Here again, El Paso History with Andrew J. Polk.
This week, coming up only in El Paso Wink, the families of loved ones at a historic El Paso cemetery are frustrated with the lack of upkeep. And as the nursing profession faces hurdles, Texas Tech in El Paso celebrates its 10-year anniversary, and Santa Teresa highlights its offerings as Mexico molds the location of a new rail line. El Paso's business journal, El Paso Inc., is available for home or business delivery. Find it online and even see all of the things that they have there online at elpasoinc.com. Appreciate them as our partners again in promoting and talking about El Paso history and the many things going on in the region there. But in the meantime, joined here again in studio by Joe Nebhan and Stephanie Nebhan, owner and manager, respectively, of the Gardner Hotel. Again, talking about the 100th anniversary that we are marking this week, and even just some of the changes over time here because of the way hotels were needed, and specifically the Gardner Hotel has been needed, again, going from a railroad short stay hotel to a somewhat residential hotel, now to the SRO, that interesting phrase here. Again, I see it as a very much a precursor to the current extended stay concept you see out there. But even then, there were interesting people that came through there. We mentioned briefly there one of the more interesting characters that came through there and who's still around, of course, today, that of Cormac McCarthy here in a picture that you all have posted up on your social media of probably not more or less contemporaneously to when he may have been staying there, right? The Cormac McCarthy?
Well, no, that was way before that.
But before.
His hair was shorter. He didn't have a mustache.
Oh, really?
The only really thing that I could say about it is he had his truck parked on Franklin Street, across the street, and his truck was stolen.
Oh, really?
When he was there, and he really got angry at that.
I can imagine. I would be upset about it as well. But of course, I mean, he wrote there, did some of his work there,
Yes.
and the Gardner ended up in more than a little bit of his work.
Yes, we are. From what I understand, we've been mentioned by name in several of his books. I mean, we did have an effect on him. I hope positive.
Well, except for the whole truck thing, maybe, but that wasn't y'all's fault, obviously. And I mean, people may have seen that, again, No Country for Old Men is probably the more famous one of his movies that has come out of his works here, that again features El Paso somewhat prominently in like the final act of the movie. No spoilers here, even though that movie's been out for a decade or so here. You should have seen it by now, because it takes a little bit place here. So clearly the Southwest influence on him in general is pretty profound here. So staying there at that point in time was it was a not exactly permanent, but semi-permanent, the way the concept was at the time, right?
Right. That is correct. This is another person that stayed at the hotel, unbeknownst to us.
Really?
Was, if you've seen the recent, I think his next Netflix show, Longmire.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, the hotel is mentioned there again by name, that he stayed at the Gardner in Dillinger's room, et cetera, et cetera. It's at the Gardner Hotel in El Paso.
Wow. Okay.
So, it says we're mentioned in, many places. I guess we have a good reputation. Or should I say a historic reputation.
There you go. The way we put it, the many famous and infamous people who came through. A reputation is a good way to encapsulate all of that here. But we were talking about some of the changes that have happened over the years as a result of just the changes in the hospitality industry. So we were talking a little bit during the break about how even the concept of the hostel came about and how you wanted to then implement that. Because, of course, the many different varieties of demand that you see here. But to keep a business going for 100 years, you, of course, have to change with the times here. Because if you're staying stalled with what one era needs, you're going to completely miss out on what the next one needs. So when you came across the idea of then changing it to a hostel, how'd that come about?
Well, first of all, I need to clarify that I used to call ourselves schizophrenic. We're both a hotel and a hostel. We have two personalities.
Okay.
But how that came across was that I was working the desk one day, and two Swiss girls were there, and I was speaking with them, and they said, this place would make a great hostel. And since I studied German in high school and college, I thought, boy, I know how they work and stuff like that. It's a good idea. So I applied with American Youth Hostels to become a hostel, and about 6-8 months later, I got the charter, and on February 24th, 1984, we became a hostel and operated as a hostel, and that really changed the hotel because it made the hotel dynamic. We were bringing in money. We were doing up to 40 people a day from Europe and Japan. It was phenomenal, and it gave me the money to do some of that historic restoration that I did over time, and it was wonderful. Now, 1996, we received by American Youth Hostels the best hostel in the United States. I think it's a Ruth and Bill, Davis Award for the organization. It's the best hostel. It wasn't bad out of 350 hostels in the country.
Wow.
And continued in and operated as both hotel and a hostel till 2015 comes along. And I was contacted by, I guess, screeners that work for the producer of a television show.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that show was Hotel Impossible. And I'd like to mention that my front desk, Stephanie had mentioned about the reservation system online and everything like that. I realized that my front desk operation was original. It's a 1922.
Yeah.
Registration. It worked. Reservations were difficult, but we handled it. I figured a way around it, but it wasn't real exact. And that Hotel Impossible, even though it's a reality show, which is, take it with a grain of salt.
Of course.
And, one of the requirements is that I had to leave the hotel as a manager. And I put Stephanie and my son to manage it. Stephanie, as a manager, and my son as an assistant manager. My son has since left and is now up in Chicago, and Stephanie's taken over and has done absolute wonders with business. The hotel is doing better than that I can remember. Okay, and all my time there, it's done much better. She has a great eye for what makes people like things. She has a great sense of, I would say, reactive management that gives the people what they want. she's been absolutely spectacular in it. And you know what? It was time for me to retire anyway. I was tired. I was burning out. I was like a firework on the 4th of July. I was burning out. I was there, from 62 to 2015.
That's quite the span.
That's
Yeah.
a huge span. Yeah, I was a little tired. And I retired from the hotel and I just stuck to my real estate business. And, we go on from there. I help Stephanie whenever I can with advice and the financing and doing whatever we need to get done. In fact, we're in a major project of updating the hotel at the time.
Right. So yeah, the Hotel Impossible might be one of the better ways people can get a real inside view in recent years anyway when it comes to online media. So I mean, besides the management changes, were there any real substantive or things that you're still doing to this day that kind of came out of that, would you say?
Ooh, we're kind of doing a lot of things. So
Fair enough.
renovations are, I think, the key thing that we did is renovations. I mentioned before the computer system.
Right.
I mean, it's a completely different staff that is there. We've done a lot. So like right now we're doing refrigerated air in all the rooms, changing our windows, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just been a really big overhaul. We've recently redid the lobby, as you pointed out some of those pictures that that are there, and the basement. So in our basement,
Right,
we
yeah.
have a self-service kitchen that any of our guests can use and cook, and it's really a really neat focal point for our guests because they get
Yeah.
to come in and they make their food and they actually get to share their food if they want to with other people, and it's a way for them to engage. So you're not just traveling and in your room and by yourself, you're actually mingling with other guests. And then we also have a game room with a pool table and like a laptop area and like a TV sitting area. So just different ways for us to have everybody come together and you see people from all walks of life playing pool together, having dinner together, things like that. And in a time where they might be traveling for business or just traveling the world, there gives them a little common place for them to come and meet other people. And I mean, they've had guests that have actually stayed there and actually gone and let's get an apartment together, let's go move over here, live together, or let's go travel over here together. So
Okay.
it's a really neat meeting spot for guests.
So a question that we had come up here: can people still book the room that Dillinger stayed in?
Yes, they can, and we're actually going to be remodeling that room to incorporate more Dillinger
Okay.
stuff in there. So as of now, yes, you can, but in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably be taking it down to renovate that and make it. We have a Dillinger room and a Cormac McCarthy room that are coming in the next couple of months.
Interesting. So, I mean, you got to keep moving with it, got to keep it updating. Otherwise, because, I mean, any business, if you're not growing, you're dying. Or in this case, if you're not changing and updating, you're probably getting a little bit stalled. Because, again, staying in operation, particularly as a hotel for 100 years, no mean feat, and something that takes a lot of concentrated work. So for the 50 years of history that you've seen, I mean, just in terms of active operation, I mean, a little bit more than technically from 62 to 2015, as you said there, Joe. I mean, just having to deal with that and keep up with it, I can understand how you may have burned out a little bit on that.
Yeah, I definitely burned out. And like I say, I can't tell you how much I appreciate Stephanie. And she has all my full support. And also, I want to thank my wife because she's been working hand in glove with Stephanie, doing all the decorations and turning the lobby into a quasi museum. With all the displays. I think it's just absolutely wonderful. I could have never done that.
I mean, again, it's a beautiful one. We got some of the pictures we've been popping up here, and I love the front desk area because, yeah, it both has a great sense of place and the history with it. And again, that historic phone booth that I did not realize was original there. That's great to know. And you all actually have some specific celebrations for the month and for this 100 years that they'll be coming up here, right?
Yes, on May 28th, it's a Saturday. The hotel will be doing tours. I mean, we give tours all the time. This will be a specific tour for the 100 year from 3 to 5. And then afterwards, all of our neighboring restaurants and bars who are also, their spaces are turning 100 as well.
That's true.
They
Yeah.
will be celebrating with live music and drink specials. as well. And then at the end of the night, the Lost El Paso Paranormal Society or team, they will be starting the ghost tour at the hotel as well.
So again, all of that coming up May 28th. So a little bit later in the month, we'll certainly have more details on that as we get closer to it. And we'll keep talking about it, because talking about local history and how you can go and see it for yourself, get these tours here. Because again, the fact that, it's a hotel in your town, unless you're, doing a staycation kind of thing, which is a much more modern concept of the history we're talking about here, may have not ever had a chance to go through and see it. So we popped up some pictures here today, but then of course, getting the chance to go and see it could be great here. So tell you what, we're going to take that last break, coming into the last segment of the hour here. We'll talk more about the celebrations and the history and what'll be coming for you all in the future here after this break. So stay tuned for more of the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
M1 EP Management Corporation is proud to sponsor the El Paso History Show. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, invest in real estate. M1 EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the website, m1ep.com. M1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call 915-592-4549. 915-592-4549. El Paso History TV is now available for free on YouTube.com. Take a look at recent ABC 7 news reports by Bernie Sargent on El Paso History TV about Waco tanks, the Franklin Mountains, Concordia Cemetery, and more. The YouTube channel also has more than 100 videos about El Paso history with lectures, documentaries, and various history clips. Go to youtube.com/El Paso History TV and find out how Texas history begins in El Paso.
If you're a valued customer, you deserve a simple gesture of appreciation from your credit card company. And that's why Discover matches all of the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
Talk El Paso weekdays at 4 on News Radio 690 KTSM, breaking down the impact of the news on the borderland and beyond. Brought to you in part by Mission Del Rey Southwest, Souvenirs, Gifts, and Decor. That's Talk El Paso, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Comfort Keepers of Las Cruces is now hiring in-home caregivers. If you're kind and compassionate, then Comfort Keepers of Las Cruces may have a fun and flexible new career for you. Call 575-521-4400 today. Comfort Keepers of Las Cruces, elevating the human spirit.
Want to show your favorite teacher some love? Staples has you covered.
Covered how?
This week, earn 20% back in classroom rewards on your in-store purchases to give to your favorite teacher for supplies.
So they can stock up on markers and crayons?
Staples has it covered.
Art and cleaning supplies?
Covered. During Teacher Appreciation Week, earn 20% back in classroom rewards for your favorite teacher or school, plus up to 5% back in Staples rewards for yourself. Download the Staples Connect app to sign up for classroom rewards. Valid in store only, ends 5/7.
Research shows listeners don't like it when ads interrupt their music. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance, we made this ad optional. If you want to skip this ad, remove your left earphone. Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance, so you only pay for what you need.
If you're missing this informative ad, you must love wasting your cash.
It's the easy and smart way to save.
Now it's all been said, so if that earphone was out, put it back in your head.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
You get to hear your favorite podcast hosts talk. But now, for the first time ever, they get to hear you. Thanks to the new TalkBack mic on the free iHeart app. Here's how to do it. Simply tap the red TalkBack mic on the player screen of the app to send your voice message. Let your favorite podcast know what you thought about the latest episode. Ask and answer questions from the podcast, comment on topics, or just say hi and let them know where you listen. Hello! Easy, right? Talk back to your favorite podcasts with the TalkBack mic on the free iHeart app. Discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
And now, let's turn back the pages of time and return to the El Paso History Radio Show. Brought to you by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate. 915-588-1850. Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant. 6761 Donovan Drive. By M1 EP Management Corporation, 915-592-4549. By Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. Here again, El Paso History with Andrew J. Polk.
Well, thank you all so very much for having joined us here for the El Paso History Radio Show, airing here on News Radio 690 KTSM. And thank you again, the Nebhans, Joe Nebhan and Stephanie Nebhan, to talk to us about all the things that have been going on. And again, just as a reminder, those celebrations coming up on May 28th, right, for the 100th anniversary.
Yes, on May 28th, that we'll do the tour from 3 to 5 at the hotel. And then Pot of Food, Craft and Social, Dillinger's, and the Pizza Joint will be having live music and specials.
So for anyone wondering where this is, I mean, we've talked a lot about the location here and even posted up some of the pictures of it. But of course, this is at 311 East Franklin Avenue, right? Got to get the East in there.
That's correct. And it's Avenue, not street, because there is a Franklin Street in El Paso.
Yeah, so make sure you're in 79901 zip code, and you'll make sure you're in the right place here.
Correct.
So again, you can find them, and you can find them, of course, online, because you've got the GardnerHotel.com. People can find out all that we got going on, and I'm sure as it'll get closer to the event, you'll have more posted up about what will be happening there. And if you want to have any people stay in town, that'll be one of the better places to find y'all with the online booking, as we talked about, right?
Yes. Also, the first 100 people that come to the hotel that weekend will receive a luggage tag.
Oh, excellent. So again, all that celebration's coming up here. So marking the 100th anniversary of it, quite a good reason to talk about a bit of our local history here. So again, want to thank you all for having been a part of it here to talk about it. So, I mean, with the continuing changes here, I'm sure that there will have to be even further ones to keep up with the times and to be managing to go through all the different currents and costs and things that have put other businesses out of business for too long. So, I mean, the generation continues, the torch continues to be passed here as well. So any expectations for what, might come next here, or just kind of rolling with the punches at this point?
That's right. It's one of my clerks, told me that my wife and I were having, shall I say, some serious discussions.
Mm-hmm.
She was really ticked at me because I spent all my time at the hotel. Which is my fault. But he says, Joe, your wife has to understand that you have a mistress. And it's this hotel here.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it belonged to my grandfather, who I'm his namesake, his Tucayo. And it really has meant a lot to me. And like I said, thanks to the support of my family, especially my wife and especially Stephanie, it was an engagement of love. I wasn't making a whole lot of money there at the hotel until the hostels came in, and the hostel provided the basic renovation of the plumbing and some of the electrical. We did a lot, but it still looked old, but it didn't have the finesse, the class about it that my wife and daughter have put into the hotel. I'm pretty plain, but my wife and Stephanie, they have an eye for it.
So I'm sure you all keep it going here. And there's a difference between old, but also then the kind of sense of place that you can get from the history that has happened in a place that you can't rebuild it. You can't build it from scratch. It has to have come from over time. And that's why we love talking about that kind of a thing here. So that's going to do it here for our show here today. I want to thank everyone who didn't tune in and call in, comment here. A lot of people think here. Flau Kemet is saying very interesting. Thanks to the Nebhans, and thank you all very much for being here. And thank you for joining us here for the El Paso History Radio Show. We'll be back with you next week here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Have a great weekend, y'all.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you for listening to the El Paso History Radio Show. We hope you'll join us again next Saturday morning, 10 to noon. And be sure to tell a friend about us. Brought to you by Patrick Tuttle Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate, 915-588-1850. By Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant, home of the Juan and Only Margarita. By M1 EP Management Corporation. By Mission Del Rey Southwest, 1421 Lee Trevino, with El Paso souvenirs, decor, and gift shopping. Thank you for joining us from the studios of News Radio 690, KTSM AM El Paso.
The True Crime Podcast, What Happened to Sandy Beale, investigates the alarming death of a young woman who dreamed of a career in law enforcement. Journalist Melissa Jeltsin untangles the mystery at the heart of the investigation, revealing a troubling pattern by officials close to the case.
I didn't take any of that crap. because I could tell that they were hiding something.
Listen to What Happened to Sandy Beale on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
One-on-One with Susan Eisen.
I was born in El Paso, and it's always been my home. Get to know us. We'll be your most trusted resource for buying jewelry and for all your jewelry needs.
When it comes to a jeweler you can trust, visit SusanEisen.com. One-on-One with Susan Eisen.
It takes me hundreds of hours each year for my continuing education on grading and pricing diamonds, and our focus is on providing value for you.
When it comes to the best diamond advice, visit SusanEisen.com.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness, modern medicine, or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, Bed Bath, and Walmart. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.